In this video, we're going to learn about SQL dynamic column selection with ClickHouse. So I've loaded a subset of the infamous New York taxi dataset to help us on our quest. And let's come over to the terminal where we're running a ClickHouse local instance. So we're going to start by describing the table trips, and we're going to pass in the setting describe compact output to make sure it just gives us back the name and the field type. And if we scroll a little bit up, we can see all the fields that we're going to be working with. Mostly notice that we've got a bunch of amounts, there's some fees, some taxes, and then a bunch of other fields as well. So let's start by writing a query. So we're going to say, I want to get something from the trips table, select, and then we can use this clause called columns, which takes in a regex, and we're going to say, get me all the fields that have underscore amount, and we'll get 10 rows back. And you can see it only comes back with the ones with amounts. We've got fair amount, tip amount, tolls amount, and then total amount. Now the other thing that we can do is we can go and tweak that. So we can say, hey, I want to do an or in the regex. So we can say, get me anything with fee or tax. And then it'll come back with a couple of extra fields. So we can see column 2 is MTA tax. And then on the end, we've got the airport fee. What we can also do is apply a function onto every column. So if we go up and we'll type in apply max, it's going to apply the max function to each of those columns. And we're just going to adjust the format to have it in vertical format, so it's a bit easier to see what's happened. And you can see here it's computed the maximum fair amount, the maximum MTA tax, the maximum tip amount, and so on. And you notice the most expensive fare, the max total amount, was over $1,000. So that was obviously quite a long trip. What we can also do is change that. So we could say, hey, I want to get the average instead of the max. And then you can see that comes back. And now it's much lower numbers that we're working with. But that's there's too many decimal places on there really. So maybe what we can do next is we can actually chain the apply. So we can say, after applying the average, I want you to apply the round function. And if we see the result now, you can see now it's just got like whole integer values. So we've got average fair amount of $18, average total amount of 27. So maybe that went a little bit far, but what we can also do is change it. So instead of just calling the function directly, we can actually, the apply function actually takes in a Lambda. So we can change that and say we're going to have a Lambda column going into the round function, and we're going to say we want to round it to 2 decimal places. And so that's much better now, right? So now we can kind of get a better view of these averages. What we can also do is, let's say we decide we want to change one of those columns. So rather than having to type out all the columns, we can use the replace functions. We can go in, I want to replace, and we want to say total amount, double that, and as total amount. And it's going to then replace that total amount column with this new value. If we run that query, you can see the total amount average has doubled to $54 from 27 as it was previously. We can also choose to exclude a field or get rid of one. So let's go up and we're going to say except tolls amounts. We want to keep all the amounts, the fees and the taxes, but we want to get rid of the tolls amount. And if you then look at the results, you can see tolls amount is nowhere to be seen. So if you like this video, you might like this other one up here about the other modern SQL features that ClickHouse supports.